My vigilant listeners, we like hearing from you, so keep on sending your tweets and comments. We read every one of them. And don't miss the chance to take the listener survey at podcast1.com. Your responses will help us to make this show the very best it can be. It'll only take about 3 minutes of your time. Tell us how you feel about the show and help us get to know you better. Do it now. Take the survey at podcast1.com. That's podcast1.com. Keep those tweets and comments coming, and remember, stay vigilant. This is We the People. What is wrong with our country? I don't want to believe what you believe, and you can't make... I want to hear why it's bad to feel good. These two political gangs don't have your best interest in mind. Makes me proud to be an American. Makes me even smarter to be off the grid. Stay vigilant, people. Abraham, light up that joint.
Welcome back, vigilant listeners, to the We the People podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Ventura. Today's a big show. We've got not one, but two interviews. Later in the hour, you're going to hear me talk with former pro skateboarder, author, and host of the Jason Ellis Show on Sirius XM's Faction, Jason Ellis. But first, I've got Bill Goldberg on the line. That's right, the former world heavyweight champion is here with me today. That's all ahead on We the People with Jesse Ventura.
He's a pro athlete and actor, a former NFL player, but you probably know him as a former world heavyweight champion in wrestling with a 173-0 winning streak. I've never heard of such a thing. He's recognized by the WWE as the first undefeated world champion in the history of pro wrestling and the first man to hold a version of the big gold belt in both the WCW and the WWE, which of course was the WWF years ago. Now he hosts his own podcast, Who's Next With Goldberg, available on iTunes and podcast1.com. Welcome Bill Goldberg to We the People with Jesse Ventura. Bill, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Jesse. How you doing, sir?
Well, I'm hanging in there yet. Life after wrestling, life after politics, and life after federal courtrooms. I'm doing okay.
We're all surviving in our own different way.
Yeah, we sure are. Bill, what do you do? What are you up to today? How old are you now?
47 years old, or 47 years young, Jeff.
47 years young now. How long ago I can't remember. How long ago did you officially get out of the ring?
I try to repress those exact details, but it was WrestleMania 20. I think it was 2004, 2005, or 2006. I really don't care. But
let me ask this, Bill. When you got ready to get out of wrestling, were you prepared to do it? Had you looked to your future, or did you face like what many guys face? All of a sudden, the wrestling career's over, and what will I do now?
No, man. I went through reinvention with my NFL stint, and unfortunately I wasn't prepared for life after football because it came to such an abrupt end. Didn't have that preparation whatsoever, so I knew that after I got lucky enough to get my big break in the wrestling business that it would behoove me to be forward thinking and plan for my future after wrestling. So it wasn't it was a pretty easy transition. Just getting away from that environment was best for me anyway. No matter, I don't care if I would have dig a damn ditch. It would have been a lot better than what I was dealing with back.
So tell me, what happened? What, you had a fallout with McMahon that ended it all?
You know, Jesse, I'm a professional football player by trade and by definition. And, dealing with the BS backstage with the WWE was like dealing with a fraternity back in college. And I've gotten to the point where I work my ass off, and I don't need to deal with stuff like that, and I choose not to. Unfortunately, I was able to transition into a different part of my life. And
Bill, explain to our novices out there, what is the BS you're talking about when you say the stuff you had to deal with, the BS in wrestling? What's the BS in wrestling?
You know, Jesse, favoritism, just dirty little bullshit tricks that they do, just stuff that at the end of the day doesn't cater to putting money in people's pockets, which at the end of the day, it's a business. That's what it's all about. My adage is, I don't give a shit who you are, where you came from. If you help put people asses in seats and you help put money in people's pocket, no matter if it's the guy at the bottom or the guy at the top or everybody in between, then that's the job that you've been asked to do. And there's just a lot of bullshit that goes on that as a 47-year-old man who's been through what I've been through, I don't have time for. Life's too short.
Who is it better to deal with, Vince or his kids?
Oh God Almighty. That's a tough one. That's like saying, do you want to jump into a fire or into the mouth of a shark? I'd say his kids, probably.
Really? I only asked that because, see, I never had to deal with his kids. When I was with the WWF or the WWE, it was Vince, and the buck stopped with Vince, and Vince ran everything. And then, of course, the transition came place where he started working Stephanie and Shane in and Triple H and all that stuff into it, where now, as I understand it, Vince really takes in a way, kind of a second position now, and that they're doing more of the running of the business. I might be wrong on that. But so you had to deal with both the kids and Vince, and the kids were worse. Why were the kids worse?
No, I didn't say they were worse. I think the kids were easier to deal with, better to deal with, because at the time, and I dealt with Shane a little bit more so. I mean, Shane had such a passion for it. He's younger, and it seemed as like he had a little bit better hold on it because of his passion for it, from being involved with it as opposed to directing it. Yeah. I could be wrong, but that's just my personal experience with it.
Did you get along good with Vince as a whole, or did you ram heads with him a lot?
No, I never rammed heads with him. I tried to be as professional as humanly possible, and I'm a man that lives by certain philosophies, and the path of least resistance is one of them for me. And if I see a confrontation that I don't feel as though anybody's going to benefit from, I abstain from. I remove myself from it.
Yeah, my big problem was Vince wanting to control everything. My ultimate fallout with him was because he felt that he owned Jesse Ventura, and I had to explain to him that he didn't, and that I'm my own person, and that I'll do what I want to do. And so that ultimately led to our demise. It was over a video game. I had an offer to do a video game, and he told me I couldn't do it. And I said, but you don't own the copyright to my name. I do. And so he said, well, if you do it, you're finished here. And I said, well, fine, I'm going to do it. I guess I'm finished then. And that was the end of Jesse Ventura in the early 90s with Vince McMahon.
Yeah, I never had like an ultimatum or anything, but I'm sure that I would have gone the same way. I went back to wrestling because of walking down the street after WCW folded, and every person under 19 years old would always ask me about getting back into it. And I felt as though I owed them for sure, because they're the people who made me, as a wrestler who I was, as far as fanfare. And, I sucked it up, and I said, you know what, I'll try it for a year and see how it is. And, Hogan tells you, oh, brother, it's going to be like this, and, you got to suck at Vince and do whatever he asks you to do. And I was like, well, you don't know me very well, and this is not going to be, this is going to be a rocky road. So I was kind of prepared for it.
Yeah. Do you see Hogan at all anymore?
No. I don't see many of the guys at all. I mean, I talk to a couple of them every once in a while, but I really don't cross paths with many of the guys.
You're like me. I don't either. I've heard that Hogan's got some health problems and he isn't moving too well. Have you heard that also?
Yeah, I mean, all you got to do is look at him and see the fact that it's hard for him to get around. It takes a couple minutes to get in the ring, and you can understand that after the bumps that we've taken over throughout the years. I'm sure, Jesse, you don't feel great right now either.
Well, I've had better days. I had to have my hip done later, so I got metal, so it forced me to stop flying because I got tired of being treated like a criminal at an airport, because if you got metal in your body, you're treated like a criminal. That's another story. But so I don't fly anymore because of that. And so that's curtailed me a little. But at this point in my life, I'm 63 now. I don't need to fly no more. I flew enough during my career. The hell with flying.
Well, I got to tell you, this past weekend, I made an appearance at the Minnesota State Fair, and there was more than one or two people that asked if I was you.
Really? What were you doing at the Minnesota State Fair?
I am the celebrity spokesperson for for NutriBlend in Elanco, and they run a program called the Drive to Feed, and it's trying to put 7 million backpacks in kids' hands.
Oh, okay.
And they were there. They do all the state fairs, and I just made an appearance there. I had to get back to Minnie, man. It was on the campus where my brothers went to school.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, how did they mistake you for me? We don't look that much alike, do we?
That's not the first time it's happened.
Really?
Bald, woman, a little bit large.
Okay, I guess that's all it takes then, huh? If you're bald and a little large and you got a suntan, we can be mistaken for each other.
Yeah, I surely, I don't see it a lot of the times. But,
Bill, I'll take it as a compliment, because if they're mistaking you for me and you're only 47 and I'm 63, I feel good about that.
Take it as a compliment, Jess, for sure.
I will. I'll take that as a big-time compliment. If they're out there believing that 63-year-old Jesse can look 47 anymore.
Absolutely, man.
Anyway, what else are you doing now, Bill? You still acting in Hollywood?
I got a movie coming up in about 3 weeks, and doing trying to get back into the TV world. Kind of posted a number of shows which are extensions of my passion, whether it be cars or documentary or whatever it may be. I mean, television's a fun place for me to be. I'm not a big movie guy, but the podcast is having a lot of fun with that. I'm able to share my experiences with a lot of my very close friends, with the general public, and other than that, Jess, just trying to keep my beautiful wife happy and raise my wonderful little 8-year-old boy.
And now, they tell me that you tell what it means to be a real man. Bill, what's a real man definition to you?
Standing up for what you believe in. Standing up for what you believe in, number one. Number two, being a provider, being a protector, not being afraid to speak your mind, all of those kind of things. Not succumbing to political correctness.
So I think I could confidently fit into that, couldn't I?
I think you could fit in that you definitely speak your mind. There's no doubt about that. You're a provider. And yeah, I think you fit in there. I mean, I would guarantee you that not everybody would agree with all of your opinions, but I think that you would definitely fit into that category.
Okay, let's have some fun, Bill. What opinion of mine don't you agree with?
Well, Jesse, I mean, there's probably a couple of them. I'm sure there's probably a couple that you don't agree with me. I think I read, let me first preface this by saying that Jesse Ventura, you've always been an idol of mine, and you've always treated me with utmost respect. And I love you, and I greatly appreciate you, and you paved the way for guys like me. And the first time I met you, I jumped out of my shoes, As I sit here on my back deck in front of a 25-foot American flag, I'm wondering if something that I read was true, that you won't stand for the national anthem.
No, I won't anymore.
Why?
Well, because I'm protesting. You were too young, but back in 1968 at the Olympics, John Carlos and Evans, I think, had won the gold and the bronze medal in Mexico City for the United States, 2 black athletes. And at the time, it was during the huge civil rights movement where black people couldn't even drink at the same drinking fountains that white people could. And these 2 guys were winning gold medals for a country that wouldn't even give them equality. So they both raised their black fists in the air. And of course, they were chastised and hated by everyone. But what they were doing was essentially correct, because they brought light to the fact that there was racial problems, that there was still great racial discrimination, and that they were all loved as long as they were winning gold medals. But when the gold medals were over, they weren't loved anymore by their country. Now, why do I feel like I do? Because I tried to go to court against Homeland Security and the TSA at the airport over my hip, because I'm being patted down and treated like a criminal out there. Number one, I'm a former governor. I'm a former mayor. I'm an honorably discharged Navy veteran, Vietnam veteran. I've been flying for over 30 years of my career, and now I'm being treated like a criminal simply because I have metal in my body. And so I tried to go to court, Bill. I brought a federal lawsuit against TSA and Homeland Security, and I sued them under the 4th Amendment to the Constitution, which of course is reasonable search and seizure, because I contended that it is not reasonable. Any reasonable person will not think Jesse Ventura is a threat for the reasons I named, being a mayor, being a governor, being an honorably discharged veteran, and I've flown for 30 years. I am not a threat. Well, it got to federal court. It got to federal court, and the federal judge threw it out and said she didn't have jurisdiction. Now, how can a federal judge claim to not have jurisdiction over a constitutional Bill of Rights question?
Yeah, that's a nice little cop-out.
Well, and what we then learned, they're doing this with every lawsuit. Every lawsuit in America brought against TSA or Homeland Security, they systematically simply throw it out because they won't hear it. Because if you put me in front of a jury, Jesse Ventura wins. And that opens up a bag of worms for them that they don't want opened up. So I felt, since my country will not give me justice, will not allow me to go in front of my peers, which is a jury, to determine whether my Fourth Amendment rights are being violated or not, I chose the John Carlos Evans thing and bowing my head and holding a closed fist in the air and saying this is not the United States of America I was born in, and it certainly is not the one I want to die in, Bill. Bill, I'm not doing this being un-American. I'm doing this because I am an American. Washington, Jefferson, and Adams all told us we had to be vigilant or the republic would not survive. And that, to me, is part of being a vigilant citizen, is standing up when your government is wrong.
And so, therefore, you fall directly into the category of a real man, and I greatly appreciate the fact that I asked you that question because I could get the answer straight from your mouth.
Well, there you got it. And that's, Bill, that's the reason I did it, because my country would not allow me my day in court. They would not, and here's the part that really got me. The part that'll get you too. I had to spend $20,000 to get told I couldn't go to court.
Yeah, I believe me. I totally understand the justice system, unfortunately, these days.
Well, you know, like I said, I wanted to end this nonsense for me personally, and it cost me $20,000 because I got good lawyers. I've beaten McMahon, and I just won again last couple weeks ago. And same lawyers, and they're damn good, but any good lawyer, as you know, Bill, is not cheap.
That is understatement. But, you know, it's just like hiring Barry Bloom, you know. If you don't hire somebody that can take care of you, then at the end of the day, you don't get nearly as much money, and that 10% that you'd be paying them, you know, you're not even making that by doing it yourself. So it doesn't behoove you not to get good representation. And that's the thing that I clash with the WWE. Not a lot of people knew that prior to me signing with WCW, I picked up the phone and called Jim Ross and got an appointment with Vince. Well, when I walked in the office and saw the secretary, I immediately realized that I didn't have an agent with me because I wasn't even thinking. And, you know, I'd just gotten out of professional football, though it be a very short career. And I mentioned it out loud, and the secretary says, "Oh, no, Mr. McMahon doesn't like to deal with agents." And I'm like, okay, here we go. Now I see how this is going to be. So, you know, I knew immediately how it was going to be.
In fact, when I got inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2004, I stated that the greatest achievement I had in pro wrestling was I made Vince deal with an agent. I was the first one to do it.
Beautiful. There's something to be said for that one, for sure.
Well, I felt, you know, out of everything I did in pro wrestling, that was the real milestone I achieved, because Hogan had an agent for all of his Hollywood stuff, but he was still dealing with Vince, Hogan to Vince. I was the first one that made Vince deal with an agent, and I was pretty proud of that. Vince wasn't so proud of it. Now, Bill, have they put you in the Hall of Fame yet?
Shit, you're kidding, right? No, absolutely. No, I don't foresee that ever happening.
Wait a minute, Bill. They put Vern Gagne in the Hall of Fame, and he never even wrestled in the WWE.
Yeah, they've done a lot of strange things with inductions of the WWE Hall of Fame, and you know, it's that
why do you take the position you'll never get in? Did you have that big of a fallout with them?
No, you just go based upon what a number of the guys have said after your tenure's up. And guys who are pretty powerful in the front office, I would imagine. And, you know, I only had like 3 moves anyway, so how can a guy get in the Hall of Fame with 3 moves? And shit, I never drew any money. I never held the ratings, and I never put people in the stand. So, I mean, I don't deserve to do that.
Wait a minute. If you're 173-0, doesn't that qualify you?
Well, you would kind of think so, but...
No, that's what I'm going on. And if you were the world champion in both WCW and WWE or WWF, they've put guys with a lot lesser stats than you in there. My God, Pete Rose is in there.
Yeah, well, you know, it is what it is, Jess. Fortunately, an induction or a lack of an induction into the Hall of Fame will not define Bill Goldberg by any stretch of the imagination.
I understand that, Bill, but you still deserve to be there. Do you want me to get on the horse and get you in there?
No, man, don't even worry about it. Don't waste your time, my friend. I appreciate that, but no, man, it's all good.
No, not that I have any pull or not, Bill. I certainly don't have pull with the WWE, but I think it's ridiculous you're not in there. You absolutely should be in there. You were a big enough name.
Well, I appreciate it, Jesse. That means a lot to me, and that in itself makes me feel good about an induction. But in all honesty, get an induction by Barnum and Bailey's circus. I'm all good without getting it.
Well, like I said, you belong there and you should get it. And Vince says it's not supposed to be political because I saw his thing on Vern Gagne and he said the Hall of Fame shouldn't be political. And if they can put Vern Gagne, Vern Gagne had a great wrestling career, don't get me wrong. But he never wrestled one day for the WWE. And yet they allowed him into the WWE Hall of Fame.
So true. Absolutely.
So I think in light of that, you're certainly qualified. You were the world heavyweight champion. I never even won a title while I was in. Bill, listen to this. I never even won a belt while I was in the WWE.
But you were Jesse Ventura. You made a hell of a statement, and like I said, you paved way for guys like me, to get in there. Yeah,
but if you're going to look at my win-loss record, it's probably 500.
If it was based upon that, then my winning percentage would automatically get me in. But I think it's something a little different. So.
Okay. Anyway, not long ago, you did an interview with the Phoenix Times stating you'd consider coming back to wrestling. Is that true?
No, hey, man, I talked to Hunter maybe a year ago, and, it was a meeting that Barry had set up, and, it was a telephone conversation, and I told him, I said, hey, man, you guys want to do some business. You want to bury the hatchet. You want to do it like it should be done, then I'm willing to do something. Just put something on my plate. And if it interests me, then to be able to go out there and perform in front of my wife and my 8-year-old boy would be a dream. But the reality is, there's YouTube, so I don't have to do that. But I would, I'd do it.
Physically, could you still do it at 47? You're in great shape.
I could do it in a heartbeat, Jess. I train at my Muay Thai gym 3 days a week, and I lift every night. I'm sitting up here at my gym getting ready to train afterwards, and I'm just addicted to it. I think I'm in pretty much the best shape of my life, though I might not be 300 pounds right now because I don't eat 15,000 calories a day like I used to. But
sure.
I'm in some pretty damn good shape. So, I like to live as long as humanly possible. I've been afforded a great life, and my life really started when I had a family. And so I want to be here on the planet as long as I can for those two. And, that's my life now. And so I have a responsibility.
Bill, I don't blame you. Stay out of the ring then. You don't need it.
Yeah, as far as the business deal, going for a year, and it would have to be a Brock Lesnar deal for me to consider something like that. And, it's funny. Let's talk wrestling just for 2 seconds. It's funny how now, I don't know how much you watch it listen to any of the chatter, but, people are complaining about this less is more thing with Brock. How can a guy have a belt? How can a guy be a world champion and not be on the show regularly? Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but like when Hogan was hotter than hell in the beginning, and this is where I learned it, less is more. You want people to pay to see that guy with the belt. That's my impression of it. And so it's funny how now a theory or a mode of operandi is so magical when years ago it was the way to go about business.
Well, I think one of the reasons may be that so much of it today is based upon television, where in the old days it was based upon putting keisters and seats in arenas. And today the majority of the money and the revenue comes in from TV, and that's why people that watch TV want the quick fix. They don't want to have to wait for nothing. They want it, and they want it now. So I can see why.
But guess what? Why cater to what the people want? Why not direct them to the storyline and the way of doing business the way you want it done? That way you control it. I've never understood that. When Eric Bischoff would try to counter everything that you guys and Vince would do, minute by minute, you just want to stand up and say, listen, man, you put forth your best effort. We got a roster that can compete with theirs. production-wise we can compete with them. Why not just go out and put your best product forward and we'll kick their ass? So, but that's just the way I feel and the way I feel.
Now, Bill, let's change subjects. Tell me about your car collection.
Oh, Jesus. Where do you want to start?
Well, first of all, how many you got?
I got the 21 at this point.
21 cars. So you can go 3 weeks and drive a different car every day if you want.
If I wanted to, yeah, and if I wanted to get put in jail because a number of them are race cars, and they can't go on the road. But yeah, I mean, Jess, when I was a kid, my dad was a Jaguar guy. He was into cars. My brothers were into cars. It was passed down through the family, and when I was a kid, my best friend's older brothers had the coolest cars around. They had the Dodges and the Plymouths and the old Camaros. I never could touch those because my dad wasn't going to spoil me as a kid. And I told myself that when I got in a position to where I could attain some of these wonderful vehicles, that I would rekindle my childhood and I can't stop doing it.
You've got old to new. I mean, what are we talking about here? The old 60s muscle cars and into the early 70s?
Yeah, I've got the earliest car I got is a 59 Chevy Biscayne. It's an original car, and probably the newest car that I have collection-wise is probably a 73 Trans Am. So everything I have falls between those years.
Really?
The coolest car I have, Jesse, is it's called the Lawman Super Boss. It was campaigned over in Vietnam during the war. It was a morale booster for the troops. It was a program put together by a guy named Al Ekstrand and Ford Motor Company, and they wanted to take a number of cars overseas and basically teach the servicemen how to drive safely so they wouldn't come back and spend $3,500 for a 450 horsepower Hemi and kill themselves. So he built these 2 cars, Ford and Carcraft, and a guy named Connie Coletta built these 2 cars called the Super Boss.
I remember that name. He was a drag racer, wasn't he?
Absolutely. He's also in the airplane business, and he worked with my brother in the airplane business too. But they built 2 automatic Boss 429s, and any car guy who was worth his grain in salt as a collector knows that Boss 429s were only built as 4-speeds. And so there was only 2 of them in the world that were automatics. One was airlifted on the USS Coral Sea. When it hit the deck, there was a cargo container that fell on top of it, crushed the car, and destroyed it. And they sent a C-130 back to the States to pick up my car. And it's got 850 miles on it. I've got all the original handouts. And to me, Jess, I live right there, 10 minutes from the back gate of Pendleton. I'm down at Coronado frickin' once a week. This weekend, I'm doing a big cookout with, a number of the SEAL team members, 1, 3, 5, and 7. So to me, this is, it's the coolest thing as an American I could own as a muscle car guy, because it's 250,000 servicemen saw this car during its tenure in Vietnam. And I reinvented the tour back years ago with Ford, and we took it to, I think, 12 bases, and I was able to, let at least 200,000-300,000 more people see that car. And I've taken it to Oceana during the air show. For me, as a proud American, no matter what the hell's going on right now, I like to stand for what I believe in. And though this is a perfect country by any stretch of the imagination, I'm very, very patriotic, and I love my red, white, and blue. And to me, that car is just, as a proud American, I mean, you couldn't have anything much cooler. And it's the only one in the world, and it's in my son's name, and it's just killer.
There you go. So Bill, my favorite car of that era, having grown up then, I'm a little older than you, is. So you could find me a 64 GTO 389 with 3 deuces?
I can find you anything you want, Jess. I got a 69, the least option GTO Judge in existence with a 3-speed manual.
Wow.
So yes, Jess, I can find you anything you want.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind, because I've always had a passion for the 64 GTO. The first year they ever made them with that 389 with the 3.2 barrels. That was a hell of a car.
I hooked Brock up with, he ended up buying 2 Hemi cars out of North Carolina, and he ended up blowing one up last week or 2 weeks ago. But yeah, so I got a good track record of finding things the guys want for sure.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind, Bill. And if I do get the urge to get that 64 GTO, I'll get in touch with you.
Hey, Jess, I would be untrue to myself if I didn't ask you this question before this thing was over. Since this weekend, and like I said, man, I love you to death, but I really want to get your view on this, and I want to get your response to it. This weekend, like I said, I'm going to be with the SEAL guys. And through what you've been through with this lawsuit and everything, I mean, what would you say to these guys? What can I say to these guys?
You can tell these guys what the truth is, that the incident that was reported in Chris Kyle's book never occurred. It was fabricated from day one. They left me no choice but to go to court because during all the settlement discussions, they were making so much money that they were not going to kill the cash cow. They would not admit to fabrication. They told me the only way they would pay me off to go away. I refused that because it wasn't about money to me. It was about clearing my reputation and name, especially in the SEAL community. And so therefore, they forced me to go to court because they would not admit the story was fabricated. And when we went to court, the jury unequivocally said the story was fabricated and I was slandered. And the other thing to tell them is this: I was not going against a widow and her children. The other side
You're
was
going against the insurance company, probably.
Exactly. The other side was an insurance company who would not settle, and she wasn't even involved in it, but she still portrayed it like she was. But it was me against a major insurance company, Bill. I was David, they were Goliath. And I had to take them on because they would not restore my name in any way, shape, or form. They left me no choice but to go to court. I had truth on my side, and that, in order to get a defamation against a public figure, you've got to have a rock-solid case. So my case was rock solid. It never occurred. I had SEALs who I served with were with me that night. None of this fabricated bullshit in this book ever happened. It was made up from day one, and it was what I had to do to clear my name. And unfortunately, it required 3 weeks in court, federal court, to do it. And also tell them this: the jury awarded me $1.8 million. I didn't. The jury did that. And all I wanted was for them to admit fabrication, and they would not do it, Bill. And the story was fabricated. It's a bullshit story from day one. There isn't a bigger supporter to the teams in the world. My God, me and Rudy Bosch. Remember Rudy from the Survivor Series?
Yes, sir.
All right, me and Rudy were named Frogmen of the Millennium. We're on the cover of Blast magazine in 2001, named the two Frogmen of the Millennium. Why would I go against my own unit?
That's what everybody asks.
Well, the problem is you got mainstream media out there that was not in the courtroom, and you got people offering up opinions who did not see any evidence whatsoever. A jury looked at the evidence.
For sure.
Yep, the jury looked
all the bullshit.
Yep, the jury looked at all the evidence, and I knew that they said I was the underdog. Well, I never went into this trial feeling I was an underdog, because how can the truth be an underdog?
True.
That's how I felt. I can't lose. I have the truth on my side. And I'll tell you this, had I lost this case, I was moving to Mexico permanently.
Instead of half the year, you'd be there the whole year.
If I would have lost in court and realized that the truth cannot prevail in our court system, then there's no reason, then the United States doesn't stand for nothing anymore. But look at it this way. I had my faith restored because the court system worked. It worked. So it gave me new life, and it gave me new patriotism, because the court system did indeed work.
Well, see, now everybody knows out there, and they're probably appreciative of me asking you, and they're appreciative of you explaining it.
Well, again, I appreciate the chance to explain it, but I also don't appreciate the chance that people doubted me to begin with.
Yeah, but if anybody has doubt, to be that man and to fall in that true man category, you have to ask questions. And to have conviction in what you stand for and what you stood for, you should be able to answer them with wholehearted confidence.
And I did, because I had the truth on my side. Anyway, Bill, we're winding down here, and we got to go through a couple segments. You ready?
Shoot.
Here we go. This is a fun one now that I ask all my people that come on with We the People on here. If I were the president, so here we go, Bill Goldberg. Let's pretend for a moment that you are the president of the United States. Bill Goldberg, you've been elected president. You got to give me quick answers. And, of course, don't take it too seriously, because that's the fun. So the 5 questions. You ready, Bill?
Sir, shoot.
All right. The first question. What is the first thing Bill Goldberg would do in the Oval Office?
I throw out the word political correctness.
All right. Good answer. Number 2, who's the first person you'd hire?
My wife.
That's nepotism, though. You can't have that in government. Bill, nepotism's alive and well in the private sector. You got to remember, this is the public sector. You can't have nepotism in the public sector.
You know what? You can have anything you fight for, man. Right?
Well, that's true.
If you have conviction in it, then you can fight for it. But
all right, so you'd hire your wife. What would she do?
She'd do everything, man. She'd be my PR person first and foremost, because she has my best interest at heart, and she's extremely intelligent.
There you go. All right. Question 3, Bill Goldberg. Who's the first person you'd want to meet as president?
First person I'd want to meet? Wow. Jess, no offense, but there's not a person on this planet that I'd really walk across the street to meet right now at this point. So.
Really?
Everybody's just the same as the next to me.
Yeah,
we all put our pants on the same way. We stand for different things, but I'd like to meet the Pope.
The Pope. There you go. All right, there you go. I love the new Pope. I could party with the new Pope. I like him.
Exactly. That's why I'd like to meet him.
Okay, there you go. The Pope. All right. Question 4. If you could choose one song as your inaugural song, what would it be?
Back in Black.
Back in Black, AC/DC, okay. Number 5, and here's the personal one. Where would Vince McMahon fit into your cabinet?
He'd be installing them in my house.
Installing what?
Cabinets.
Oh, you're installing cabinets in your house. Okay, there you go. All right, there we go. There's Bill Goldberg for playing If I Were President. Now, the final segment, social media questions from the fans. We have some Twitter and Facebook questions for you, Bill, and here we go. At BeastMode6699 on Twitter asks, what made you get into pro wrestling, and why did they kill your streak?
My accountant called me and told me to get off my ass and go make some money. That's why I got into pro wrestling.
Okay.
What was the next question about my streak?
And why did they kill your streak?
I don't know, man. I'm a worker. I'm not a creative guy. So at the end of the day, I just do what people tell me to do.
Okay. Next question. Mike Kales on Facebook wants to know, what happened during your WrestleMania match versus Brock Lesnar?
We both were leaving for different reasons, and everybody in the crowd knew it, and the creative knew it, and they didn't put any effort towards the match at all. And we were shit on by everybody, and at the end of the day, it was just two guys trying to fulfill a dream of theirs. And I looked across the ring at Brock, and Brock wanted to look like Brock was about to explode, and I said to myself, boy, this is going to be tough.
All right. And those days do happen in that business. Anyway, Matthew Johnson on Facebook asks, have you speared anybody lately? Miami
Marlins baseball game last year. We had an unruly fan come out, and I threw out the first pitch, and afterwards I delivered a nice little spear on the turf, which felt really good to him, I would imagine.
All right, there you go. Sean Stewart on Facebook wants to know, what political party are you down with?
Shit, none of them.
Yay! Best answer you could give, Bill. Outstanding. I'll stand with you on that one. None of them. Larry Francis on Facebook wants to know, what was your favorite match during your WWE run?
Ooh, favorite match? I would say the Elimination Chamber match, 2003 or something like that. I think it was the only Elimination Chamber I was in, so that was my favorite match in WWE.
Okay. Philip Milan on Facebook asks, is politics in wrestling as dysfunctional as it is in Washington?
Boy, that's a nice little parallel. Good analogy. I would say absolutely. Even more, probably even, I don't know if it's possible to be more dysfunctional, but I would say they parallel each other good.
Okay. Jeffrey Calvert on Facebook asks, Jesse for president, Goldberg for vice president.
Boy, that'd be a scary damn scenario right there. That is for sure. Watch out. We'd be the toughest damn country in the world.
Bill, I look at it this way. You'd be a hell of insurance policy because nobody'd kill me and let you get in there.
Boy, if that's not a dig, I don't know what is. Is that because of the questions I frickin' asked you, Jesse?
No, I'm just teasing you because that was a quote Charles Barkley gave me one time. When I was getting out of office, when I was getting out of office as governor, Charles came up. He's a great guy, and Charles, I went to him on a question and answer, and Charles said, I said if I ever ran for president, I'd have Charles Barkley as my running mate, and this was before Obama and all that, back in 2002, 2003. And Charles said that. He said, we could save money then. We could get rid of the Secret Service, because he goes, if I was your vice president, he goes, you wouldn't need the Secret Service, because he said there'd be nobody'd kill you to put a black man like me in there.
You know, it's as funny as that is, it would stop his freaking golf game, though.
Poor Charles. You know, Charles, he'll actually hit the ball good practicing, and then it'll all disappear once he goes out on the course. It's amazing.
He's got stage fright. I don't get it. I've played with him so many times back in the year when he and Jordan, you know, to Jimmy V and whatever it is. Oh, it's hilarious.
Oh, yeah, no, he does. He cannot play golf. Anyway, Bill Goldberg, thank you. I want to thank you for appearing on We the People, my podcast. Always fun to talk with you and reminisce about wrestling and what you're doing in the future. Keep up the great work, Bill, and stay active out there. And as I tell my people, stay vigilant. I know you will.
You got a partner now. The only way that I'm going to leave here quietly is if you agree on air to do my podcast.
Absolutely. No problem. We'll get it here on my work day, line it up with my people, and I'll do the podcast with you.
I want to thank Bill Goldberg for joining me today. You can catch his podcast, Who's Next with Bill Goldberg, on iTunes and Podcast One. And check out Bill's charity at drivetofeed.com. Now, he's a skateboarder, mixed martial arts fighter, and radio show host. His most recent book is The Awesome Guide to Life, Get Fit, Get Laid, and Get Your Shit Together. You can hear him on the Jason Ellis Show every Monday through Friday, noon to 4 p.m. Pacific on Sirius XM's Faction. Please welcome Jason Ellis to We the People.
He's a skateboarder, mixed martial arts fighter, and radio show host. He's written 2 books in 2012, I'm Awesome, and this year's The Awesome Guide to Life, Get Fit, Get Laid, and Get Your Shit Together. You can hear him on the Jason Ellis Show every Monday through Friday, noon to 4 p.m. Pacific on Sirius XM's Faction. Please welcome Jason Ellis to We the People. Jason, you sound like a Renaissance man. You like to try everything, huh?
Yeah, I'll give it a go.
Really? What's the most fun? I mean, mixed martial arts, that's pretty dangerous. You know, obviously you take good care of yourself and you're in great shape to be anywhere successful in that.
Yeah, well, I have a thick head and a high tolerance for pain, so I usually lose, but I enjoy it. If someone punches me enough and tries to kill me, then I can no longer think about the torturing existence of my own life. Therefore, I'm almost meditating in a blanket of pain, and I enjoy it.
Okay. All right, now give me the serious end. Obviously, you got to be pretty well schooled because nobody gets into mixed martial arts that doesn't know what they're doing. What's your background on that, seriously?
I'm more of a boxer than anything. That was like the most natural thing that came to me. I've done all of it, but I'd say that jiu-jitsu would be my weakest game. I never really tried that much. I just sort of know how to defend, and even that's pretty pathetic. Wrestling, because that's where I started at Team Quest, and kickboxing, and then boxing. I did boxing straight for about 3 years. I didn't do anything else, so that would be the thing that I have.
Okay, so you got a pretty good punch, I'd assume.
Yep, yeah, I got a pretty solid right hand.
Okay, very good. And you're right-handed?
No, I'm not. I'm left-handed. I mean, I stand
Really?
right-handed, but I ride with my left hand. I throw with my right hand. I'm a very confused person.
Well, we're in good company then, because I'm right-handed, yet I play golf left-handed and I bat left-handed. So I do things just the opposite way too, because I'm actually right-handed.
That makes sense to me. I feel like we're kind of similar in ways. Like you're an entertainer to the core, and you've tried to do pretty much everything, as far as I could tell. You know, and you're a tough guy, probably living with some insecurities, such as I get it. We're very similar.
I'm 63 years old now. You lose all your insecurities by the time you get 63.
Is it fun?
You know, I love to quote. You remember the great Katharine Hepburn, the actress?
Is that the one where the head wobbled all the time?
Yeah, she had a great quote. She said, "Growing old is not for the faint of heart."
Right, so it's a bad time then.
Well, it's not a bad time. It's an oxymoron. It's good and bad. Many things about it are wonderful, but nothing can overtake youth. You know, you trade them all in again, you know, to be 20 years younger.
What about, because you're a crazy weightlifter, so you were super buff. I'm not really a buff guy. I'm fit enough, but I don't, to be really shredded, I need to actually, like, lose water weight. I'm kind of thick-skinned, but you're a really buff dude. Then when you get in your 60s, and you're not a buff dude, because I'm 42, I have to fight to try to have abs. Does it get annoying when your abs go away? Does that kill you?
I don't know, because mine are there.
You still have abs?
Absolutely. I got a six-pack. I got a new diet. It works. No, I got a new diet. It works phenomenal. You want to know what my diet is? No, I eat everything I normally eat. I haven't changed my food intake one bit. I've simply switched to only drinking water.
I want to see your abs. Are they on Instagram or something?
I don't know if they are right now, but I've lost a lot of weight. And I don't know what I weigh now, because I don't like to weigh myself. I think that's a strange game to play. Just look in the mirror. But no, I've changed my workouts. I lift light weights now. I do the elliptic machine. I do an hour and 5 minutes. I do over a marathon a week on the elliptic machine now. And so, no, I'm in pretty good shape for 63 years old, the best you can be. But, you know, getting old, though, Jason, I'll tell you what's bad about it. You wake up every morning with an ache or a pain you didn't have the day before, and you're trying to figure out how you got it.
Yeah, my skateboard life, I feel like I woke up in pain every day anyway, so I'm kind of used to it. I think it's just going to be consistent and forever for me.
Well, then you'll have a great time, because that's the big change that I've noted, is that you get aches and pains now and you can't figure out. And now when I play 18 holes of golf, it's like playing middle linebacker in a football game. You know, I got to take a hot tub the next day.
Right. Okay, yeah, I'm already adjusting to that. I get that. Extra ice. I'm with the game. I got it.
Okay, so you're good there now. Let me ask you this, Jason. Let's get you in the old catch-22 questions here. What do you prefer, Australia or the United States?
America.
Really? You like the United States better than Australia? Why?
Because I wanted to be a professional skateboarder, and they only had that in America. And I wanted to learn how to fight, and I got mixed martial arts, and every gym I went to had people in the UFC because it's in America. And I got into radio because of Tony Hawk, who's an American skateboarder who got twice as famous as anybody in the world because he got his own video game, so much so that he had a radio show, which gave me a co-hosting spot, which gave me this job, where now I have one of the biggest radio shows on satellite radio, therefore a job for life to feed my children that are half American. I love America.
Oh, very good. Now, I'm told you set the Guinness World Record for the biggest drop on a skateboard at one time?
Yeah, can I cuss on this podcast?
Yeah, you're podcasted, right.
It's baloney. There you go. I'll do that instead. Everyone just makes that. Yeah, I did a record thing. The actual fact, the truth of that world record is my friend jumped out of a helicopter and he set a world record. And then somebody called him and said they'd pay him $20,000 to jump off something else to break his record. And he said, no, it's not enough. And I know a guy who will do it. And then he gave him my number, and then they called me. And I jumped off a ledge a little bit bigger. And then a year later, or maybe 2 years later, then he built a gigantic one, and he jumped off the tip of a guitar at the Hard Rock. And he destroyed my record. But yes, for like 2 years, 2002, nobody was dumber than I when it came to jumping off something on a skateboard.
Well, I'll tell you, that's got to take some courage. I mean, I used to jump out of airplanes, but I always had a parachute on me, so I always felt safe. Jumping at that height with a skateboard, that'd be different.
Yeah, it was pretty stupid, but it looked cool.
Anyway, so have you ever chickened out on something on the skateboard? Have they ever asked you to do something with a skateboard where you finally said, Jason, no, not even I'm going to do that?
Well, people don't really ask me anymore because there's people that are better than me for the job. But I've been in skateboard. I've been in this a mega ramp. It's like a 90-foot roll in. So you go down and then you shoot over a gap. It's anywhere from 70 to 60 feet, and then you hit another quarter pipe that's 30 foot high, and you go 20 feet above that. So you're 50 feet above the ground. And there was a couple of times in that contest where I could have made it, but my foot wasn't exactly on correctly, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna jump off. And I knew I didn't place. I didn't do this because I didn't have the balls to put it down. So that's actually why I retired, because I knew that I'd finally started to be concerned about being injured.
Okay. Jason, how old are you now?
42.
Whoa, so you're getting up there, 42. So your body's got to be telling you no on a few things now, isn't it?
Yeah, I was actually pretty unprofessional. I never stretched or anything. So now I stretch and I ice. And because of all the mixed martial arts that I've been training in the last sort of 5 or 6 years, I now know a lot more about that stuff. So I take care of myself. I eat better and, all the different icing and massages and ice baths and heat, and I constantly do stuff. I do 10 times as many things as I did to stay in the same. I'm actually probably fitter than I was because I used to just be drunk all the time. So I can't believe I could skateboard at all at one point.
Well, I got to tell you, one of my best friends is an Australian, Greg Norman.
Oh yeah, the golf player.
Yeah, absolutely. I really enjoy Greg Norman. He's a terrific guy. And in fact, when I was in the Navy, we used to run into you Aussies over in the Philippines, and we played you one time in rugby, and the Australians said we were the dirtiest rugby players they had ever played.
You didn't finger anybody, did you?
No, but the reason we got that label is because we were all used to American football, and in American football you can block. If a guy's carrying the ball and you're in front of him, you could knock people down. And see, that's where we had difficulty because, of course, in rugby, you're not allowed to do that. That's against the rules. You can't block for the guy who's carrying the ball and, he laterals the ball. Yeah, so
I don't play either one, so I have no idea what we're talking about. But, yeah, tackling... Sure.
Yeah, and so, but we took it as a badge of honor for the Aussies to call us the dirtiest players they had ever played. So we figured we were doing something right, But it was a lot of fun. I'll tell you, I got along great with the Australians when I was in the Navy, and we'd run into each other in Southeast Asia all the time in the old days. Let's go to MMA, though. Are you going to fight some more?
I might have a Muay Thai fight because I actually have my professional record. I'm undefeated in mixed martial arts and boxing. So if I have a Muay Thai fight and I win, then I'll be undefeated in all striking genres, and then I'll be able to open my gym called Ellis's Undefeated, even though my record is, I only had one fight in every one. But that's the genius of it. Because if you tell me who's undefeated, I'm undefeated. Like, not a lot of people in MMA are undefeated. And if you go on Sherdog, you'll see there it is. Jason Ellis, undefeated.
Jason, I think that's a brilliant idea. Just have one fight in each, stay unbeaten, and that way, you can use that advertisement. You're the only undefeated MMA fighter in the world.
Yeah, I know. I've still got the record, too. Look at me. Not a scratch.
Well, let me ask you this. What do you think is tougher, MMA or pro wrestling?
Man. Well, wrestling's not even really a sport. Wrestling's like, I don't know, it's kind of like car dodging, I guess.
No, wrestling is a sport.
Wait a minute. Sport now. You do more somersaults now and stuff, but before I used to be like, I guess you guys slap each other in the face kind of hard, but...
Really?
I think MMA, there's just so much more skill involved,
Wait, let me give you an example, though. At one point, I wrestled 63 consecutive nights in a row.
Yeah, they were fake 63 fights. Okay, you know what? You jumped on the ground and you hit your back on the ground 63 nights in a row. But you're talking to a guy that skateboarded his whole life. I broke bones and skateboarded the next day. That's no big deal to me. What about the actual mental fear of knowing that you can get switched off in every fight.
Really? So what about the trust when you're lying on the mat and Jimmy Superfly Snuka goes up to the top rope and he jumps off leading with the elbow, and if he's off by an inch, you're dead.
You're dead? There's no way you're dead. I don't believe that at all. If he's off an inch, he's dead. I bet you he was off all the time. You guys are half-wasted jumping on each other every night. I reckon you missed a couple of times. You get cut, you get bumped. I'm sure you got some injuries, but nobody died from a flying elbow. Come on.
Really? We've had deaths in the ring in wrestling before.
Well, probably from like a heart attack from doing a bunch of coke before you went out there.
I doubt it.
Who died? Somebody, wait, seriously though. The governor. Who died? Who died?
You know what? I can't remember anymore, but you know what I love though? Is everybody makes fun of wrestling, like Nature Boy Ric Flair. You know what a backdrop is?
You lift them up and you drop them on their back?
Well, that's where they throw you in the ropes, the guy bends down and catapults you through the air and you land flat on your back, right?
Oh, yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, okay, Ric Flair would do a minimum, this is a minimum, of 3 of those a match, right? Besides everything else, he'd do 3 of them a match. He'd wrestle 300 times a year. That means he would do 900 backdrops a year, and he wrestled for 30 years. That means he did 27,000 times minimum. He was thrown into the ropes, catapulted into the air from 8-9 feet, and landed flat on his back 27,000 times.
Man, you don't think that... I reckon that's pretty. I reckon you'd be pretty sore, but you stretch, you put some ice on it. It's all right. It's not that big of a deal.
Not that big a deal, huh?
I really can't look at how many times you hit the ground. I guarantee you, I hit the ground harder than all of you, and on cement with things snapping. I've snapped things and then duct tape them, and then gone back out there just to win some contest. Not even win. I made like $500. You guys are tough, but it's the difference between getting switched off. It's 2 different worlds. You ask me MMA and wrestling. I can't. If you said wrestling versus rollerblade, I'd say wrestling's cooler. You're saying wrestling versus mixed martial arts. Every time you go into the cage, the dude trained his whole life to take your jaw off, switch your brain off, give you permanent brain damage. Everybody that has a big name, by the time they leave MMA, either has naturally thicker skulls or have brain damage. They might end up killing themselves when they're older. It's way more dangerous. In the brain, you know that, Jesse. You've had fights. When you have a real fight, someone wants to really take you out. It's stressful, man.
Wait a minute. I'm gonna differ with you on this. I think boxing's way more dangerous than MMA.
Boxing's way more dangerous than MMA. I agree. But I wasn't talking about boxing. I was talking about MMA versus wrestling. Boxing, yes, you get more brain damage. You spar each other. I know. I fight.
No, not just that part. It's the fact that MMA has good referees and they stop the matches before anybody gets hurt too bad. And I give them credit for that. The MMA referees are phenomenal. And once a guy is disabled, they jump in and the match ends. And that's excellent that happens. Where in boxing, you get the standing 8 count and then you get drilled again 6 or 7 more times because in boxing, you're naturally going to say you're okay even when you're not.
I really think that boxing is for more of the sparring. I think that boxers train, the best thing they can do is spar each other. They do it 2 or 3 times a week. I don't think MMA guys do that anymore. They can't kick each other in the face or knee each other. You just can't train that kind of stuff. So they sort of, I think people get less head injuries in MMA because there's submissions and all this other stuff. Boxing is just, it's mainly getting hit in the head.
Okay, let's go back. Like you want to get after me for pro wrestling?
No, I don't want to get after you for pro wrestling. You asked me a question, which was tougher, wrestling or MMA? You want me to lie?
Yeah, and we're staying with that. How many matches wait a minute, how many times can you have an MMA fight a year?
I don't know, like 12 if you want, I guess.
You think you could go once a month, really?
Look, you're talking about a fake fight where you fall on the ground. If you do it every day in a routine, it's not the same. What about, it proves my point. MMA guys can't do a fight every night because their bones snap and they got concussions. They got real injuries, not like, like sore asses.
Oh, and I love you. You know, I love you, Jason. I'd love to get you into pro wrestling and let you do it for 6 months, and then you could tell me about all these fake injuries.
I walk around sore all day. If I did wrestling for 6 months, I'd walk around sore, and I did a radio show, I'd say, man, I'm super sore. But it wouldn't break me. It wouldn't stop me from doing anything. I'll piss wrestling.
How come I had to have my hip replaced?
Because you're 60. What happens when you're 60? I'm going to get it too, man. My hip's already hurt. Your slams are not the same. They're not even registering to me.
Gee, it happened when I pro wrestled. Imagine that.
Yeah, I know. I get it. You're 60 and you jumped on the ground a lot. Look, it's coming for everybody. You said MMA and wrestling. You have no chance. No chance.
You know what the difference is that we found out the easier way to make the money. That's all.
Yeah, no, you're good at. Yeah, you're better than me. Yeah.
It's called ballet with violence.
Yeah, I mean, you got all your names for it. It's cool. I think I have friends that are super into it, and they got the diamond cutters, and they love it, and I get it. I think it's cool. Everyone's got cool characters, and it's fun to watch. I get it.
Okay. Anyway, Jason, what's in your future now?
Take over satellite radio. I want to be the king of radio, and just on satellite, I don't fit on terrestrial. I'm too rough. So I just want to stay over here, and I want to rule it, and I want my kids to grow up happy, and maybe if I could kick someone in the face once a week, that'd be really cool, and vice versa. I want to be good at MMA. I would like to do some meditation, maybe write some more books, stuff like that.
Okay. You think you can dethrone Howard?
No, I don't think dethroning somebody that created the game that I'm in is kind of impossible. I think that the only reason I'm here is because he made the avenue for me to drive down. Because I don't think anyone would pay me for what I do on the radio unless there was already this guy named Howard Stern. So no, I would prefer that he leaves and then I become the king. I'm not looking for a fight. Not with that guy. I have too much respect for him.
So you're waiting for Howard to retire, and then you'll assume the throne when Howard retires.
He's already on 2 days a week. You know what I mean? It's satellite radio. It's the internet. You can check our show out on demand as well. I believe that everybody can listen to him and a little more to me, and it all bleeds through, and we all stay happy on Sirius XM.
Tell me this: what's the biggest misconception about you?
Well, probably all that stuff that you at the start of the show, that I'm really good at riding dirt bikes and racing cars. I got second this weekend, but it's not real. I'm not very good. I know the good guys. I'm not very good. Maybe that stuff. Maybe that I'm happy all the time. I'm pretty dark sometimes, but I think everybody knows that. You know what? My radio show, I can't stop saying everything that I feel, everything that I've ever done, so there's no misconception with me. Okay,
what's on the horizon? What would Jason Ellis like to do that he hasn't done yet?
I would like to have my Ellis Mania boxing tours and my band and all that perform in the stadium.
Wait, Jason, I want something you haven't done. What haven't you done? You've boxed, you've MMA'd, you've done all this thing. What is on the horizon for Jason Ellis that he has not done?
Well, I haven't won a race car. I haven't won a car race. I want to win. I'm in it, but I suck. I want to be good and I want to win. That's my goal. I want to number one in radio, number one race car driver. I want to play. I want a trophy.
So you want to drive? Is this NASCAR we're talking about?
No, I wish. No, it's short course, Lucas Oil Series. It's like the big guys are 900 horsepower trucks that jump over 150-foot jumps in the dirt, and it's like short course racing. You're rubbing and jumping, and you roll, and people get hurt. It's badass, man. The real thing.
And so what you'd like to do is win one of those. That would be on your agenda.
I'd like to become a race car champion. I'd like to go every couple of weekends. I go down there with my trailer and all my team, and we race, and I get points, and I get a trophy at the end of the year. And those people with the energy drink girls, they all celebrate around me, and it's a victory for the old guy because I just need to win, man. I just want more victories. Give me some.
All right. Jason, on the end of all of ours, we always like to have some fun. You ready for some fun?
Always.
All right, here we go. Now, this is 5 questions, and it's going to be If I Were President with Jason Ellis. So we're going to play it. It's time to play If I Were President with Jason Ellis.
I wasn't born in America. Is that okay?
Oh, we don't give a shit about that.
Okay. Okay, cool. Then I'm ready. I'm ready.
That's irrelevant. So let's pretend that you, Jason Ellis, are elected President of the United States. Now you got to give me your rapid-fire responses to these questions. And, of course, don't take them too seriously, because that's the fun. Here we go. Number 1, what is the first thing you would do when you got to the Oval Office?
Legalize it. Red Dragons.
Legalize what?
Pop marijuana, son. Woo! Let's get that out of the way, and then ask me some more questions. Let's go.
Number 2, who's the first person you'd hire?
The first person I'd hire would be John Elway. Because that dude looks like he knows how to run shit.
John Elway, the football player?
Yeah, the football player. And then I was supposed to wait to get him to pass the football to me in the grassy area out the front.
Okay. Question number 3. If Jason Ellis was elected president, number 3, who's the first person you'd want to meet?
Ooh, good question. The first person I would want to meet would be Arnold Schwarzenegger, and here's why. Because I know that, in my opinion, he's a bit of a man whore. And my girlfriend is fully into him, and I think that if I got her, Arnold Schwarzenegger, then I could pretty much do anybody I wanted for the rest of my life. So that would be the next thing I would do.
There you go. Okay, number 4. If you could choose one song as your inaugural song, what would it be?
What Don't Kill You, Make You More Strong from Metallica.
There you go. And finally, question number 5 for Jason Ellis. If he were president, U.S. president or politician you'd want to take on in a fight?
Oh, man. Nobody's big enough. Who do I want to punch in the face? Man, they're all so annoying. That's tough. Can I pick a lot of them?
Well, give me 1 or 2.
Who's that guy that shot that guy when he was hunting?
Dick Cheney.
Yeah, I want to punch him in the face. And who else do I? I don't punch girls. I can't punch girls. Who's that guy that got a massage and then he might have put a little bit of his load in a towel or something?
I don't know who that was.
It's probably all of them.
We got some final media questions and comments for Jason. You ready, Jason? Here we go. First up, John Paul Devers on Facebook asks, is your bark bigger than your bite?
Well, he's saying that on the internet, so how tough can we get here? This is ridiculous. Come to the gym, dude. Come to the gym. Like, it's ridiculous.
All right. Next, we've got Peter Sanasaban on Facebook who writes and asking, who was first, second, and third best in his eyes between these skateboarders? Oh, boy, these are new to me, so I hope you know them. Christian, is it Hosai?
Yeah, Christian Hosai. Yep.
Okay. Steve Caballero?
Yep.
Or Lance Mountain?
It goes Christian Hosai, number 1, Steve Caballero, number 2, Lance Mountain, number 3.
There we go. That was simple. William Beck on Twitter writes, at what point did you realize you're going to win a bout? When do you realize you're going to win a bout?
When I see how fast his punches are, and I notice that mine are just a tad faster. That usually will do it.
Okay. And finally, Danny Cassavet on Facebook asks who he thinks would have won an MMA fight if he had to fight Jesse Ventura in his prime.
Wait, who would win, you or me?
Yeah, me in my prime or you.
Oh, in an MMA fight or in a fake wrestling fight?
In an MMA fight.
Oh, well, you don't know MMA. I'd destroy you. It's not even fair.
No, you wouldn't, because I'm a Navy SEAL.
Yeah, well, come on, eye gouge, Jeffries. You got to be joking me, dude. I would switch you off in a second. You got to give your Marine fingers.
No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't.
You know, how good is your striking?
Wait a minute. Let me explain why I'd win undoubtedly. When I was going through SEAL training, we asked one of our instructors one day when we got hand-to-hand combat. And you know what he replied? He said, with a stoner machine gun, no one should ever get that close.
You can't say that in an MMA fight. You're out of your mind, man.
See, I'd win because I'd have a stoner machine gun and you'd be deader than a doornail.
You know what you don't know about this one story that I know about, that every guy has a machine gun, I fly away in my airplane. Boom.